Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us on this national holiday. It happens to be National Beer Day today. And,
Cheers.
Yeah, let's drink to that, right, Jakia? Not now, though. So, Jakia, welcome. You've had a good week today. Tell everybody about your week.
Well, it has been very eventful. Good afternoon. Today is day 3 of our grand opening of phase 1 for the community. We have the main pool, we have the craft studios at the clubhouse and the East Wing, and the billiards hall. So things are going good. Everyone's utilizing our online reservation system that was developed for the community. And we found, we make adjustments during the week, but so far so good.
Good. Well, I haven't got any complaints yet, so either my phone's not working or everybody's happy.
I'm going to go with everyone's happy.
Yeah, I hope so. Okay, so how do you want to get started today?
I think we should start off with a legal corner. We have Staff Attorney Geraldine DeBacchi and Attorney Ms. Sarah Barker in regards to elderly abuse and exploitation. So it's a very interesting topic that affects not only Winmore, but all communities and seniors.
Right.
So good afternoon, ladies. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Geraldine, take over.
Well, today I'm going to introduce our supervising attorney for the senior law unit, Sarah Barker. She's going to speak today, as Kia mentioned, on elder abuse and exploitation. She's very well versed in all areas of senior law and this one in particular. So I turn it over to Sarah. Thanks for being here, Sarah.
Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I have been an attorney at Coast to Coast Legal Aid since 2009. As part of my practice, I've always been in the senior law unit. So I've done, when I started, it was in the middle of the foreclosure crisis. So I just ended up falling into doing a lot of consumer and foreclosure defense issues for seniors. I had also started to do some fraud and exploitation cases involving some scams that were related to scamming senior citizens out of real property. And then I got more involved in handling cases of elder abuse. So I wanted to present today on a little bit about what our office sees. And I think it's helpful for anyone, whether or not they're a senior, you want to be aware for yourself or for other people you may know of the different types of abuse that can occur and what you should do if you ever suspect abuse and sort of what our office or what other civil remedies there are for elder abuse. So I did use the word civil because I don't do criminal law. So when someone commits a crime and there is a criminal statute of elder abuse, that's going to be handled by the state attorney's office. And that goes through its own process where, charges are brought and it's prosecuted. However, there are civil remedies related to elder abuse and exploitation. So that's what I'd like to talk to you all about today. A little bit about what we see, how to report, and just sort of best practices, things people can do to hopefully you never need to call me. That's always my goal with this. So I'll start with, I guess, what we tend to see most commonly, come into our office with types of abuse, because there is an abuse for exploitation. I'll go over that, but it comes in all shapes and sizes. Of course, you're going to have what people normally think of elder abuse to be, which is, actual physical abuse and verbal abuse. And that is can be combined with other types of abuse, such as exploitation. So we also see a lot of financial abuse. and exploitation against senior citizens. That can involve real property and personal property, changing title of cars, mobile homes, real property, using the seniors' benefits, you know, and these can be with family members, but it can also be with non-family members. Strangers might come and befriend a senior, earn their trust, and then end up exploiting them. So these are sort of the main arenas that we see. We also do see some neglect where a senior has someone come in, whether it's a family member or paid caregiver, and they're simply not caring for the senior as the senior needs to be cared for. So in regards to the physical and verbal abuse, in the civil side of it, we're going to look at injunctions for protection against violence. These are most commonly known as restraining orders, and they are a specific division in circuit court that handles these cases. So it's one sort of section of the court. It's handled by a few judges, but they're their own division. And what happens is the victim will go file what we call a petition with the court. And when they do this, they're going to write basically a narrative of what happened and why they are asking the court to enter a restraining order, an injunction. Why do you need this individual to not be near you, to not have any contact with you? So that's the first step, is to go down and file this petition. It's going to get reviewed by a judge before there's any hearing. You know, when you go to court and both sides are there, they get to argue. What first happens with this petition, it's reviewed by a judge. And if the judge thinks that the allegations in the petition are so, dire that it requires an immediate, what we call ex parte without a hearing, an immediate injunction, the judge will issue a temporary injunction, and that injunction will stay in place until there is an actual hearing scheduled. And the hearing is scheduled very quickly. It's scheduled within 15 days to give the other side due process to have their day in court, because during the pendency of this injunction, they are prohibited after they're served with it from going near their senior or contacting the senior. So that's something that will then turn into a hearing. And at that hearing, it's when the argument happens, right? Each side tells their side and the judge makes a determination. During this time, it could be that the incident or the incidents that occurred also were cause for a criminal case. So a lot of times clients will have a criminal case, victims will have a criminal case, but they won't necessarily know to or think to go get a civil injunction. But we always recommend a civil injunction because with a criminal case, you may obtain a no contact order, which is similar. But if the criminal charges are dropped, you lose that no contact order. When you go to court requesting an injunction, you can explain to the court the amount of time you think you might need this injunction for. Sometimes the court, if it's roommates and the other one's moving out, the court may just say, listen, you guys aren't going to see each other in the future. I'll grant this for a year. However, sometimes depending on the circumstances, the court, and you can request that you get an injunction until further order of the court. And what that means is if you obtain an injunction for protection, the court, it will stay in place until either party can go back to court and argue why it should no longer be in place, why have the reasons for it being in place no longer exist. And so that's generally the what most people try to obtain unless it's a different situation. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the different types of restraining orders real quick. How am I doing on time? Am I good? I'll go through and I'll be good. So let's pull it up.
You're muted, Bruce. He was trying to say something.
Sarah, yeah. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
You can continue, but when you're done, we have a Detective Corey on, and he could tell us some, real life stuff. And then if you want to interact with him, we could do some time with that.
Okay, perfect. That sounds like a plan. Thank you. So the different types of injunctions that we typically file for seniors, the first one is most people think of as the domestic violence. Domestic violence means you're living together as family, you're related by blood or marriage. So generally that's going to be when we have the son or daughter, granddaughter, nephew living with the senior. It's going to fall under domestic violence. Stalking violence. Sometimes we see this with just, it may just be a caregiver that left or that won't go away, but or that they're harassing them. But it's basically harassment, purposeful harassment over a repeated period of time. It has no legitimate purpose and it's causing emotional distress. They're threatening you, threatening harm to you, and you have reasonable fear for your safety. Repeat violence is going to be where you're not related, you don't live together as family, and there's been 2 instances of violence that have occurred, and one must have occurred within the last 6 months. And so sometimes seniors come to us and they have an individual that may be exploiting them or verbally just not being nice to them, but it may not meet the statutory requirements for this type of injunction. And so there's another avenue we can take with that. And in 2018, get my dates right. In 2018, let's see here, Florida actually created a statute to have an injunction for protection against exploitation of vulnerable adults. So that now gave us the ability to get this type of restraining order for somebody who was a vulnerable adult and maybe experiencing financial exploitation or other exploitation that didn't necessarily fall into the types of injunctions that I was just speaking about.
Okay.
So in order to qualify for that, the petitioner, the senior has to fall into being a vulnerable adult. A vulnerable adult has to be over 18 years of age or older, and their ability to perform normal activities of daily living, to provide for their own care is impaired due to a mental, emotional, sensory, physical, or infirmities of aging. So the other requirement is that this has to be, before this petition can be filed, you must report the abuse to the Central Abuse Hotline. And I have the information for that number. It's going to be 1-800-96-ABUSE. And that is a prerequisite to filing this type of petition. This petition is in circuit court. It's actually in the probate division. And that's the division that handles these types of injunctions. But it's actually, if they're actually able to freeze assets. So if there's been, misuse of funds by the abuser, The court can step in and issue an injunction to freeze bank accounts, to sort of supervise it and perhaps even get funds reverted back to the senior. The only thing they won't do in this statute for this type of injunction is they won't decide title issues as to real property. So I guess I'll curve into my last part, is that if we have to deal with a situation where real property the senior was defrauded out of real property, those are probably the most strenuous cases in terms of litigation. You may have to prove forgery, you have to prove fraud. A lot goes into it depending on the circumstances. Sometimes they're very easy and the other side just agrees to give it back, but sometimes they're not, and if it's fought, it's quite a process. So that's kind of what I have for this. I'm happy to speak with the detective or have the detective go on his end of what he sees.
So Sarah, you stay on the line. We have Detective Clint Corey. Hi, Clint.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you great. Why don't you take us through a beginning of a situation and maybe give what you would give the advice to the victim at the time, or what happens on your side. And then if Sarah wants to add in to this, then maybe it'll give us a better perspective of everything.
Well, your timing is perfect, Sarah, and very well prepared and very well said. I'm actually handling, as we speak, a very, very involved exploitation case right now. And we're talking specifically about Florida State Statute 825, that's 825, which covers exploitation of the elderly. It also covers those who have a disability. Now, what's interesting in this particular case that I'm going to speak briefly about, and I can't go into too much detail because it's active and it's ongoing. As a matter of fact, I spent most of my day today working on it. But quite simply put, here's what it looks like. You have a caregiver. I'm sure everybody in the audience knows somebody who maybe has a caregiver. Maybe it's 1 day a week, maybe it's 7 days a week. This is oftentimes a person you trust. They might be through an agency, they might not. They might even be a family member who is a caregiver. Can everybody still hear me okay? Can everybody still hear me okay?
You're coming in beautifully.
Okay. And this caregiver holds a position of trust and confidence for the person that they're caring for. Unfortunately, as we all know, we can't be naive to realize that sometimes these people that we trust to take care of us end up exploiting us. In this particular case that I'm working right now, this was a longtime caregiver of 15 years. And this caregiver had direct access to all the finances for the individual. And what we discovered recently is that the longtime caregiver decided to use the personal debit card of the person they were caring for to support, bear with me for a second, to support her personal expenses. I can't speak at length about what those expenses were, but use your imagination. There's a lot of casinos in the area. So the bottom line
bet on
is,
that.
Yeah, you can bet on that, Bruce. So with that being said, we the family in this particular case, they don't make a habit of checking their statements, their account activity regularly. In fact, the investigation has revealed that this person has been exploiting the elderly person for more than 12 months before they picked up on it. So I'll stop right there for a second and say, tip one, check your account activity regularly. And if you think your caregiver is doing it for you, you might also want to have a secondary person checking as well as kind of oversight. In this particular case, had that happen, we could have stopped this a long time ago. Another interesting fact is not only is this elderly person being exploited, not only are they elderly, but they're also a disabled adult with a cognitive disability. So they really, really exploited this person in the worst form. It gets even worse because what we found out that this caregiver has not only been exploiting this one individual that I just referred to, but she also cares for several other people as well. And maybe when I say opening Pandora's box is too big of a phrase here, but we have discovered that there are very likely many, many more victims. So it's a very involved case. It involves the taking of an awful lot of money from many, many adults who are over 65 years old, some of which, like I said a minute ago, also have cognitive disabilities. So what could we have done different? What could the families have done? What could the victims have done? I touched on it just a second ago. You got to trust somebody to look out for you, but there's nothing wrong with having a backup. In fact, I strongly recommend a backup, maybe even a third person. The whole checks and balances thing. You got to make sure somebody's looking out for you, and it can't be just one person. What if they're taking from you? Or what if something happens to them? You got to have a backup, and maybe even a backup to a backup. But the bottom line is, this case that I'm referring to right now, where I have many victims, by the way, none of which live in Winmore. So let me make that perfectly clear. None of the victims regarding this particular incident live in Winmore. They do live in Coconut Creek, but not in Winmore. So with that being said, I'll wrap it up by saying, if you suspect someone is being exploited, where a person in a position of trust, a caregiver, etc., is exploiting a person, and you want to report it, you can call, I think Sarah said it a minute ago, 1-800-96-ABUSE. You can report it anonymously. You can call me here at the Coconut Creek Police Department. My number is 954-973-6700. Just call and ask for me. I need to stop giving out my phone number so much, I think, because I got to tell you, over the last few months, I've been getting lots and lots of calls.
Join all.
I get lots of calls, but you can either report it through 1-800-96-ABUSE. You can call here at the main number and ask for me. But step one is you got to report it. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. Sometimes people call things in and the person is not being exploited. There is no abuse occurring. There is no crime, but would rather receive it and unfound it than not receive it at all, because there are a lot of people who are being exploited, who are being abused, who are being neglected, some of which live in Winmore. And if you just turn your back on it and ignore it, it doesn't help anybody. So if you have any questions at all, you know how to get a hold of me. But that's elderly exploitation in a nutshell. It's under Florida State Statute 825. And if you think of anything, you can ask me a question now, or you can ask me later.
Detective Corey, what would the charge be in this case? In the one that you're dealing with?
Okay, so it all depends on the dollar amount that was taken. I can tell you in the particular case that I'm referring to, the dollar amount taken was over $100,000. The penalty in this particular case, it is a first-degree felony. If I'm not mistaken, it's a minimum sentence of 3 years in prison, all the way up to 30 years. Now, that doesn't include restitution or reimbursement, the payback of the money. If it's more than $10,000, but less than $50,000, it's a second-degree felony. And if the amount exploited or taken from the elderly person is less than $10,000, it's a third-degree felony. So it all depends on the amount of money taken.
How about the money recovered? Does it have an effect on the term of the sentence?
Well, I can tell you in my experience in cases like these, the first thing the judge likes to see is that the offender has paid back or attempted to pay back the victim. Now, in the case of, somebody who might be taking this money for gambling or whatnot, there's a good chance the money's gone. So their ability to pay back this money might be nil. So when you're not able to reimburse the victim, I don't think that's going to end well for the offender, and they're probably looking at a lengthy sentence. But step one, the judge, I know for a fact, he wants to see these victims made whole. Their ability to do so, well, that's another question.
Sarah, you want to interject?
Yeah, sure. Because one of the things that happens is in a situation like that, now the senior is being deprived of assets that they relied on, perhaps for future payments for housing. So a lot of times what we do is we try to address different things. One of those things is when we see financial exploitation or any exploitation or abuse, we want to see what stage is it at? Is it happening at this moment? Did it happen last year? So that we can provide the senior with some type of safety plan. Do we need to help the senior run out and like change bank account numbers, or has the senior already done that? Are we trying to recover? We kind of want to take a step to see what exactly stages is the exploitation in. We always, if they haven't already made a police report, we're always going to tell them to make a police report, try and get them in touch with wherever they're located, the local victim advocate, to sort of, be with them through that process as well. In terms of having somebody, tell anyone I can tell, before you sign documents, or if someone's rushing you to sign something, that's a little bit of a flag. If they're making it urgent and telling you don't have time to review it. There's so many times where I've had clients say, well, I wanted my daughter to review this, but I didn't have time. They said I had to do it today or else it wasn't going to happen. I would lose this money. So, that's sort of a flag. If somebody's rushing you to sign something, not giving you time to review it with somebody else, with an attorney. And also, aside from checking the statements, which I'm guilty of too. Sometimes I don't look at my bank statements every month and I say, oh, geez, what's this charge here? But you want to do that, or have somebody reviewing your
I don't know why that keeps happening. I'm sorry.
It's okay. And then
I think they're censoring you. You must be saying dirty words, Sarah.
I don't know what's happening here. Where was I? Yeah, so I feel like a teacher with my pencil. But to credit reports, that's what I wanted to say. Check your credit reports. You can check your credit reports free each year. Do it. Sometimes people don't know that people were opening up credit cards in their names, using their social security number. Just take that extra step, or have someone take that extra step, just to do that extra layer of protection. For homeowners, if you don't already know, maybe it was in a presentation that that you've already heard prior viewing, but the Property Appraiser's Office for Broward County has a special alert. Do you guys know about that? If you're a homeowner, you can sign up and you can be alerted if there's any change to your property, any change in title. Because a lot of times when there's a fraud, a senior's defrauded on a title to their home, they realize it when property tax bills come and they see a different name. They don't realize it when the document was recorded. So now the Property Appraiser's Office, you can sign up and a homeowner can be notified of any change in title of that property. Which I'm recommending any homeowners do that, whether or not they're a senior, but any homeowners, because a lot of times that doesn't get they're not made aware of it until they actually see the tax bill and they see a different name, and all of a sudden it becomes unraveled, and it may have happened months ago.
Yeah, Sarah, we had the property appraiser on a few weeks ago, and we discussed the change in deeds.
Oh, okay.
The scam of the week that week.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. And it's very, real property issues are really difficult sometimes to litigate. So it's definitely one of the bigger scams we see, or different fraud tactics we see, is the loss of home ownership. And so we certainly want to do everything we can to avoid that. And, just if anyone here, or if you know someone who's maybe struggling with a family member, it's becoming where they're feeling in fear of their safety, they're not sure of their rights, if they feel like someone's in their home that they don't want there, they're uncomfortable, maybe physical abuse hasn't started happening, they can certainly contact our office, and we can discuss with them options they have at that point. And we can go ahead and try and, get them safe.
As I get older, and I'm sure most people, we get more and more scared as we hear the news and what's going on, and what our backup network is, our support system. I think maybe you guys need to get something out there that we could put on our refrigerator, that if we feel something's happening, call now, because we're going to forget. A lot of people are going to forget about this, and they're going to panic, and they're going to get paranoid.
We do have magnets, and I'll get them.
Magnets.
I'll get them.
We have magnets. Magnets are coming for you, Bruce.
Okay, that was a good idea, wasn't it? And I didn't know that. National Beard Day. Yeah.
I'll get those magnets to you.
Because this is a great conversation, but I know as I'm getting older and I see things, who am I going to call? Ghostbusters? I don't know. But if I had that, at least I would have an idea. I know Detective Corey's going to say he gets a lot of calls that he can't do anything because there's no crime committed. And this is the problem. We think we know we need someone to talk to say, I got a situation here. Mm-hmm. And now one last thing for you guys. You're a neighbor. You really don't want to get involved because there's violence going on either next door or down the block. How do you get the word to, and who do you get the word to that there may be some suspicion of violence, domestic violence, either physical or verbal violence? What do you do as a third party?
The detective can say, but I believe it's going to be, there's if you can report it in confidence. You can be unanimous when you report to the elder abuse hotline.
And I'm sure most people, 99% will call the police, say, I think there's something going on in the unit above me or something.
We have talked about that before, and I think that Officer Zombek had mentioned that the sheriff or the police department will do a wellness check if you call them, and they'll go and check on the situation, which I don't know that.
Officer Zombek, is that what we should do?
Yes, that's exactly what you should do. You can remain anonymous, and thank you for being patient as I had some technical difficulties getting on board today. But following Detective Corey, who's the star of stage and screen, is a big deal, but managed to do that. Yes, don't hesitate to call us. We will investigate every call we get. If you're a neighbor and you believe there's some kind of domestic violence or abuse or neglect going on, call the police. We will come out and we will determine what's going on. And if necessary, then we will contact the Department of Children and Families, who oversees elderly abuse, elderly exploitation, those kind of things as well.
Okay, I think at this point I'd like to thank Geraldine, Sarah, and Detective Corey. And we'll stick with Michael to get our weekly report, and then we'll go into some fun things. And again, you guys are doing a great job. Thank you, Geraldine and Ms. Barker and Detective Corey. And Geraldine, you've been bringing us great shows.
I'll be back.
Okay, good.
Sarah will be back. Yes, thank you so much again.
Say it like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I'll be back.
There you go. Okay, and Detective, thank you. And you guys stay on if you like and listen, and we're going to have a little entertainment coming up, so stick around. Michael, you want to tell us the weekly report?
I certainly do. Just to start off this afternoon, or what happened this morning, we did have a little bit of an accident coming in the west gate where we had one of the residents struck by a vehicle. Fortunately, the resident is pretty much okay. She sustained an injury to her foot, and the driver will be issued appropriate citations once the crash investigation is complete. So thankfully, it wasn't any more serious than that, although anytime a pedestrian is hit by a car, it's a serious thing. So we've got to pay attention to those four-way stop signs on the circle for sure.
Michael, she was in the crosswalk, right?
That is correct. They were both in the crosswalk. The car did allow one person to cross completely, and then something happened as the second person was crossing, and they kind of met in the crosswalk. And the woman did sustain some injuries to her right foot, which was, and a sidebar to this, the woman in the car did have an attorney present with her rather quickly. So that was kind of interesting.
Oh, he was in the car, or she?
That
We
part I
should
don't
carry
know.
our attorneys with us, right?
We should all do that on speed dial, apparently. But thankfully, it wasn't any more serious than it was. So that started off the day. We did have an incident we spoke about where some cocaine was found at near one of the residences. And thanks to the good work of security, we do have some leads on that. The case is currently in the hands of our undercover unit, and I can only tell you a little bit about what's going on, but there will be some active surveillance of the unit involved to determine where we go from here and see if we can effect an arrest in this case. And as far as the crime goes, that is kind of the wrap on that. We did have one incident last week where one of the residents took the vehicle belonging to their girlfriend and disappeared with it, and some type of drug activity was involved, and later on the boyfriend was arrested for stealing the car in Pompano. So that was good work by our department to go out and arrest him for stealing the vehicle. And other than that, it's been a pretty quiet week.
Well, that sounds like a pretty busy week.
Yeah.
As far as Winmore, because we're like a very
You guys
sleepy community here.
You guys are definitely a sleepy community. One quick reminder about the Shred event coming up on Saturday of next week, the 17th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's going to be over at the casino in their east lot, what they call their butterfly lot. There's a 3-box maximum for your old documents, so please come by, say hello, and we'll get those documents shredded for you.
Thank you.
What happened to Mike? Where'd he go?
I'm
He's
here.
still here.
I'm here.
You ran out of steam or what?
No, I was waiting for the the exit.
Okay, well, we just gave you the hook. Okay.
Yeah, I know. That's rough.
So mute yourself so you make sure you don't say anything that you regret. Okay. Jakia, we have 2 types of phones coming up, right? We have a musical phone and we have a phone for the hearing impaired.
Yes.
Why don't we go with the musical phone first?
We do have Mr. Wes Anthony. He's a saxophone player, a flutist, a vocalist, and his virtual concert premiered this past Saturday. We do have the encore this upcoming week, which is the 10th at 8 p.m. Good afternoon. How are you?
Wes, do you have a camera? Wes, you still with us? Oh, Wes.
We were trying to figure out how to get his camera to work. We did do an audio test earlier, but the camera is a little faulty.
Do we have any audio? Wes, are you there?
I'm having a microphone problem.
This better not happen on show night, Jakia.
The show is great. We already got good reviews on it, so we're actually looking forward to the encore.
Okay, while we're waiting for Wes, why don't we go to our other phone? Wes, if you could hear us, Wes, just jump on and just to make sure you're there for a little bit later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, was that Wes?
Hear me? Hello, hello.
Yes.
Are we westbound here?
Yes.
Hi, Wes. We can't see you, so you're going to play us a song, but we don't really know if you're going to be if you're playing it or not because we can't see you. Wes.
Okay. Well, oh. There you go.
Wes.
Take two.
Okay, well, Wes, can you hear us?
Well, this is actually a great segue because if you're having hearing problems, Miss Melanie Pagan from our Center of Hearing and Communications offer these amplified phones. How are you
That's
today?
right. I'm good. How are you?
Melanie, do you have a sample? Do you have a sample of the phone?
Of course. I have a whole bunch behind me.
Let's see some. You have any saxophones?
So we have like I'll bring one just so I can get closer to the camera
Yeah.
for my laptop. I'll bring you the most popular one that we have.
Okay. Do you have any ones with big buttons on them?
I do. I have like the ones for those that are visually impaired as well as hearing. We have a telephone or a couple of different same type of phone, different colors and small different features. It is corded, so they don't have as much mobility when it comes to that, but we have some with the bigger numbers, and a lot of our telephones also, like the cordless one, like this one, they do repeat. Like when the person presses the numbers, there's an operator that repeats. So it's a voice assist so that they are able to confirm that they are dialing the right number. So we do have like some small features when it comes to those that are visually impaired, on top of the fact that they have a hearing loss as well. Once again, our phones are free. They're funded by the state of Florida through a TASA law that was passed in 1991. They are able to, anyone that is a Florida resident is able to get one of these telephones. We've been getting a lot of calls from Winmore. I'm glad to hear that the clubhouse is starting to open up. So in the future, we will be able to hopefully do events once we get some kind of revamp on everything going on. We are able to do events in the future for everyone to gather together and get a phone at the same time. For the meantime, for those that are homebound or are not able to come to our office, which we are very close, we're about 15 minutes, not too far south from Winmore, we are doing deliveries for those that are homebound. We'll stay at the door, we'll have our masks, we usually talk to the person in advance when we schedule our appointments, and we talk to them, let them know the types of phones. We'll do some type of like a small little interview to let us know, how much hearing loss they have, what they would prefer, what their setup is at home, etc. And we would recommend something at least to start. The person does not have to have a landline anymore. We do have phones such as this one that can connect to the person's cell phone through Bluetooth. This is something we usually try to do as best as we can because technology is not the biggest forte for our senior citizens. So we try to do what we can do to make things as simple as possible. We can be contacted, and if anybody has any questions regarding, what type of telephone, if they already have one and it's not working, they can call us and we'll look up their account and see what situation, what's the next best step. Sometimes we have clients also that have a specific phone and it's just not working that well, or it's not fitting their needs. We are able to change things up and suggest a different type of phone, exchange it for something else. We do actually also have Caption Call that we just had a meeting with not too long ago. They are a caption company, so it's not really focusing on hearing. Rather, their hearing loss is at such a level that they have to rely on captions in order to see or have a good conversation. You don't have to have a landline for this anymore. We just found out that if the person has a cell phone with Bluetooth, there is a device with captions that they are able to have in their home instead of having a landline. So we're trying to make sure that we don't add expenses to our senior citizens, rather reduce it, and being able to, get rid of their landline if it's too expensive. Or I just found out AT&T does not do landlines only anymore. They have only bundle packages. So some seniors are like, why do I need internet? Like, I don't need that. So we are doing what we can with the Bluetooth and the Bluetooth connections for the captions, and also for our amplified telephones. Just in case if anybody's listening or wants our information, the best way to contact us is at our office. It's 954-601-1930. That's again 954-601-1930. And my name is Melanie, Melanie. And the supervisor, Gloria, is in our office as well at times, and she is also able to assist with providing more information about the program.
Melanie, do you have any brochures?
I do. I have some flyers. I think Kia has some of our flyers. Do you have like the English one and the Spanish one?
We
I'm
do.
not sure. Okay, yeah. The flyers that we've been giving out just has a breakdown of the program, our address, our office number, and also our work cell phone numbers. But since I always, whenever I get a chance, I tell people, call our office first. I'm always on the road. I may not be able to catch my phone in time, or, you may leave me a couple messages and take me some time to get back to you. So I always recommend to call our office numbers first, because usually 90% of the time we'll have someone that can call back sooner than I can with my personal phone.
Your service is so valuable. I hope people
Yeah.
Because if you can't hear or you have problems seeing, and you need to communicate with a relative or something.
Correct. Yeah. That's where we are right now, especially with COVID. We have senior citizens that are stuck at home. Their brains aren't, functioning properly, as in they have nothing to do, so, or if they can't hear, then they're not contacting their family members. And that's when we start seeing the depression and the dementia start to revamp itself. So we try our best to bridge that gap between our clients and their family members and caregivers. And another thing, just to tie into the legal part, all of our seniors, well, everyone gets all these spam calls. And a lot of the times, all that scammer needs is to hear the word yes. And there they go. They opened up that window to start doing whatever they want to do. A lot of the times we have had our seniors with an amplified telephone actually prevent being scammed, because they understand what the person is saying, and they've been drilled in their head not to answer specific questions. And if they cannot hear, then they'll be answering the way that person wants to. So that helps a lot when they can hear and understand what the person is saying on the other line. I have a client that I just met with yesterday, and he could not hear anything from his cell phone, nothing at all. The gate had the actual guard asked me to tell the person that I'm actually at the gate so they can let me in, because that client wouldn't understand anything that the guard was saying. So once that person was able to get their amplified telephone, we did a test call, we connected it to Bluetooth, and he did not ask me to repeat myself, not one time. So comparing, I can't hear anything, I can't understand, to I had a perfect conversation. It speaks for itself when that person has the device in their hands and they're able to see that they're able to actually have a better conversation. I have clients that have cried. I have pre-COVID, I have clients that have hugged me. I've had clients that have just given me gifts. Like, it is a very, very good service, and it is free. I always tell everybody, just take it. It's free. Just give it a try. You won't be penalized for it. If you don't like it, you won't be penalized. You won't be charged for giving it back, but it really is a good service, and it doesn't hurt to give it a try.
And Melanie, we'll keep in touch with you. We'd like you to come on
Yes.
every once in a while. And
Yes.
we'd like to hear from you.
Absolutely. Yep, and I'm excited to start. You know, we go to Winmore at least once a week.
All right,
So
maybe you
this is
should
where-
drop into the administration office. Say hello.
Okay, next time I'm in Winmore for a delivery, I'll stop by.
Okay, you have to
And I'll
use the
drop some
code word
flyers.
when you get to security. You gotta say swordfish.
Swordfish. All
That's the
right.
code word, right?
All right, that's a code word. Got you. I'll remember that one.
Thank you, Melanie.
I use that when I'm in the van, Bruce.
Yeah, sure.
Swordfish.
Swordfish, right. Okay,
Okay.
Jakia, let's do this. Wes, we can't get in touch with, but we'll show a little video on Wes. And then we'll come back to you and you can give a little intro to the outro.
Okay,
So we
sounds
have
good.
we have two videos coming up, but Jakia will come back to give us an intro to the outro. Okay, let's do it, Jakia.
Wes Anthony is non-stop talent and energy. This multi-talented multi-instrumentalist enthralls audiences with his mastery of saxophone and flute. Once you've seen him, you'll agree this is a performer who hits all the right notes. Your audience will be treated to a journey of melodies featuring time-tested favorites from high-energy swing to hard-hitting rock and roll. To soulful, romantic ballads.
So if you're here with your loved one, please hold your partner's hand and feel the magic and love these beautiful songs.
This show has something for every musical taste. Wes's enthusiasm is contagious. Audiences clap, snap, and sing along, enjoying this medley of musical hits through the decades.
Pittsburgh 6-5,
Whatever the group, whatever the occasion, Wes has the chops that will bring the crowd to its feet.
Okay, well, that was Mr. Wes Anthony. Again, his encore performance is this Saturday, April 10th at 8 p.m. You can view it live on channel 99. Make sure you set your clocks so you can join the show. We'll do our best to have him back at another time since we're having some technical difficulties. But again, thank you, Mr. Anthony. If you can hear us, we're looking forward to Saturday.
We're talking about the big time.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back to that same.
Okay, welcome everybody back.
I did. The goal is to welcome you guys back to the
around, but those dreams have remained and they've turned around. Who'd have thought they'd lead you? Who'd have thought they'd lead you? Back here where we need you. Back here where we need you. Yeah, we tease him a lot 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back. just could spot a friend. Welcome back. And I smile when I think how you must have been. And I know what a scene you were learning in. Was there something that made you come back again? And what could ever lead you? What could ever lead you? Here where we need you. Here where we need you. Yeah, we tease him a lot, 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back.
This is to welcome everybody back. Oh, what happened, Jakia? All right. This is to welcome everybody back to the opening of the amenities phase 1. There'll be more and more things opening up. Keep tuned to the Tuesday Management Committee meetings in order to find out where we stand. Okay. Thank you, John.
Issues today.
All right.
Where we need you. Where we need you. Yeah, we tease him a lot, 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back. Yeah, we tease him a lot. Welcome back, 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back, yeah, we tease him a lot, 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
Welcome back, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Thank you. One more wave. Have a good week. Bye now.